For all the colors, patterns, and shapes that national flags come in, there's one elusive color that always seems to be absent from every vexillologist's palette. I am, of course, talking about the color purple. Why is it that there are almost no countries that embrace this famously regal color? Before we continue, it's important to note that there actually are a few flags that do contain the color purple. The first is the flag of Dominica, which features a purple-feathered Cicero parrot front and center. The second flag is that of Nicaragua. What do you mean you don't see it? It's the purple band in the rainbow right in the center here. Obviously. Finally, there is the former flag of Spain, specifically the Second Spanish Republic, which features a prominent purple band at the base. This flag was officially discontinued in 1939, but was adopted as the flag of the Spanish Republican government in exile until 1977, and is still used today to represent Spain's modern Republican movement, some trade unions, and some left-wing political movements. But why are these the only examples, and why are they all relatively new compared to most flags? Well, it actually happens to be for the same reason the color is associated with royalty. It was really f***ing expensive. Back in the days of the Roman Empire, specifically 300 CE, just 1 pound, about half a kilogram, of silk dyed with Tyrian purple, the dye of choice at the time, was worth the same as 1 adult lion or 2 pounds of gold. Let me know your pick in the comments. This means that at the time, it was worth the equivalent of around $50,000 US at the time of writing, for just 1 pound of silk. With a price like that, an entire flag? No matter how inconceivable of a flex, an entire flag of purple would be way too expensive to mass produce for an entire nation. Now, I already know what you're thinking. Well, why was it so expensive? The answer, surprisingly, comes down to snails. Tyrian purple comes from 4 species of marine shellfish: Hexaplex trunculus, formerly Murex trunculus, Nucella lapillus, also known as dogwell, Helix ianthia, charmingly also known as Genthina genthina, and especially Balinus brindaris, formerly Murex brindaris. This source of purple dye was the first to be used by humans after it was invented by the Phoenicians in the 16th century BCE and continued to be the purple of choice for the next 3 millennia. According to the legend recorded by the Greek scholar Julius Pollux in the 2nd century CE, the Phoenician god Melkart was walking along the seashore with his dog and the nymph Tyros. While walking, his dog bit into a large sea snail which stained its mouth purple. Melkart was intrigued and dyed a gown with some of the purple extract in the dog's mouth and presented it to Tyros. But for the Phoenicians who wanted purple dye, they needed a more efficient method that didn't involve collecting color from the mouths of dogs. To extract the precious purple from these snails, they first had to be collected by the thousands. Pliny the Elder in the 1st century CE noted that thousands of these snails would only yield a mere ounce of dye, or about 28 grams. Next, the snails were slowly heated in large pots filled with brine for 10 days straight. Preparing the snails in this way was reportedly quite stanky, and so Tyrian purple was always manufactured downwind of the settlements they served. After the smelly snails stewed, the snail's mucus turned purple and was thus harvested to make dye. Also, in case you were wondering, the snails themselves evolved this purple mucus as an antimicrobial lining for their eggs. Tyrian purple fell out of favor in 1856 when Sir William Henry Perkin accidentally invented the world's first synthetic color derived from coal, a purple dye he named mauve. Oh, and he was only an 18-year-old chemistry student at the time. But wait, this convention arose from the price of an outdated production method, so what's the excuse of modern flags not to feature purple? Well, at this point, mostly just symbolism and convention. Because the dye was so expensive until the mid-19th century and was thus almost never used, there's a sort of precedent not to use the color. Additionally, its high price tag meant that it was heavily associated with monarchies and the Catholic Church, as those were the only organizations who could afford it. Today, few countries are monarchies and even fewer have any reason to represent the Catholic Church. Politics. And thus, the reason purple is mysteriously absent from vexillology is that for 3 millennia, it could only be manufactured with expensive snails, which earned it a reputation as a color for monarchs and clergy, which mostly barred it from flying in flags even when affordable purples were developed. Stay safe, everyone, and wash your hands.